Can computers be art? Well, I think with this motherboard, the ASUS ROG Crosshair 6 Hero X370 motherboard, I think the answer could be yes. Well, the reason I bought this motherboard was primarily because it did look bloody gorgeous. I did not realise it had fancy RGB lighting on it, nor that it had RGB headers. I did next to no research when I bought it, but I do not regret my decision. When I'm starting here looking at the box, even the box is absolutely stunning. And this is a box that could be thrown away. I mean, you have an inside flap here that sort of springs back when you open the lid, and it has a shiny logo, Welcome to the Republic. This is a view of the motherboard, fresh in the box, and the packaging is quite nice and chunky, which was very good because the box did arrive absolutely battered. Underneath the motherboard we have a few items, and laying them out we have a drinks mat, a DVD, a sticker, warranty information, instructions, some colour-coded label stickers, a quick start guide and some safety information. This is the back of the motherboard. Looking at the backplate, it's placed within this plastic enclosure. We have a clear CMOS button, a BIOS flashback button, M2 Wi-Fi slot, two USB 3.1 ports, that's the red one and the black one there, that's a Type-C port, 8 USB 3 ports, and 4 USB 2 ports, an anti-surge LAN RJ45 port, optical out, and 5 gold-plated audio jacks. That's another view of the motherboard, and I'm sorry it didn't come out very well on the camera. Bit more of a close-up, you can see we have an on-off button on the motherboard, as well as an absolute load of connectors that I'm probably going to miss some out here, but let's try. We have a reset button, safe boot button, retry, slow mode, LN2 mode jumper, a ROG extension connector, USB 3 header, a thermal sensor connector, water pump, an RGB header, and the front panel connector. Looking around the corner, starting from the left-hand side, we have a water flow connector, 8 SATA 6 gigabit ports. And looking further back, we have an M2 socket connector, as well as a 3D mount here. And there's a hard drive LED indicator. Well, that picture didn't come out at all well, but there's a fan connector and a USB 3.1 header. The Q-code LED output, and that shows the code of any error messages on the motherboard, which are supposedly well listed in the instruction manual, despite the fact that the 2 or 3 that I've had are not listed at all in the manual and barely appear online. So very helpful. Further around we have an AIO pump connector and 2 CPU fan connectors. And there's 2 optional power sockets. You can use either the dual or the single. I opted for the dual because I'm running an AMD 1800X CPU, and that is an AM4 socket. And in terms of the PCIe headers, we have 2 PCIe 3 X16, although if they're both in use, they will run at X8. That one is the primary one, that if it's in use on its own, it will run at X16 speed. We have a PCIe 2 X16, as well as 3 PCIe X1s. So as you can tell, the motherboard is absolutely festooned in headers and connectors. I purchased it from Amazon for £225. Perhaps a little bit pricey, but I don't regret my decision. Oh, I forgot to mention the memory slots on it are DDR4. So looking at some of the other items we have in the box, so there's the backplate, and that is an SLI connector. On the other side we have 2 SATA 6 gigabit cables and 1 RGB header cable. Rather annoying that they only put 1 in, considering there are 2 headers on the motherboard, and I needed to use both headers and had to pay an extra £7 for 1 cable, which was a bit annoying. So that was the motherboard fitted inside my case, and it only just fitted in. That additional plastic above the CPU cooler did only just fit beneath the fan there. There is a couple of millimetres gap. But overall, everything fitted together nicely. I did need to change the backplate when I bought this Be Quiet Dark Rock 3 CPU cooler. It was an additional backplate that had to be ordered separately. So while there was no problem fitting the new backplate, there was however a problem removing the old backplate because that was stuck on. Can't really see it there in that picture, except for the fact there appears to be a hair on the left hand side. Yes, that was stuck on and had to be delicately separated from the motherboard because I was rather worried about damaging the tracks. It really was almost like super glue. But here we are with the motherboard powered on, and you can see the lights glimmering through under the onboard heat sinks. So there's two lights there, so it shines through that heatsink and that one. Was that going to be the North Bridge and South Bridge heat sinks? I think that's what I may have called them, although I may have used a legacy term there, in which case I'm sorry because I've not bought a new motherboard in quite a few years. This is with some RGB LEDs stuck around the edge of the case, and you can see it matches the colours perfectly. So you've got well, it's green in this picture and sort of green as well, and in this picture it is blue and blue, although a slight difference on the blue there. But considering the colours cycle around, you don't really sort of notice too much. And that's an error code I have displayed. That's just due to the memory issue. I'm still using a legacy version of Linux compared to the age of the hardware. Something I've been meaning to change but not got around to it yet. And there we are in the case. Looking very nice. So in my question, can computers be art? Well, it depends on the components, because some can be. And the ASUS Crosshair 4 Hero X370 is, in my opinion, certainly worthy of being called art. And in terms of functionality, well, I have had a bit of an issue with Linux, but that's more due to the age of the kernel. Once I upgraded to a newer kernel, more things have started working. For instance, the sound now works, although none of the onboard temperature sensors work, but that may be something that will improve in time. So I've taken a bit of a look at the UEFI BIOS utility here, and in the monitoring section at the moment. So I've got the fan speeds, and they will respond to the temperature at sections of the motherboard. The CPU fan speed looks absolutely chronic, because at this point in recording, it was the cheap CPU fan that I had, not the newer Be Quiet cooler. Interestingly, the boot options picks up the operating systems off the hard drive straight away. The EZ Flash utility is the BIOS upgrade, and you can upgrade either via offline USB flash drive or via the internet. There is a secure erase utility to completely erase solid state disks, and as you can see, it is aware of what disks are solid state disks in my system. Graphics card information, and as you can see, it has recognised the make of the graphics card, and it mentions the running speed. This is the Q fan control, and you have the options of standard, silent, turbo, full speed, or a manual setup profile. You do get better control over a PWM fan compared to a DC fan. The PWM will run lower. Unfortunately, I can't show it in this demonstration because at this point I did not have a PWM fan in the system. Thanks for watching. See you all later.